Hello and welcome to the Deepfakes and the Future of Security Awareness webinar. I'm Savannah Richardson, and joining me today is Elizabeth Weathers as we explore the growing threat of deepfakes and what organizations can do to prepare for them. This topic has been something of a passion project for us. It has led to multiple presentations and inspired new content within the Tandem platform focused on AI-related risks and emerging threats. Today, we'll share real-world examples of deepfake fraud, explore the psychology behind why these attacks are so effective, and discuss practical ways to strengthen awareness, verification, and response procedures within your organization. Whether you're just beginning to learn about deepfakes or looking to enhance your existing security awareness efforts, we hope you leave with a better understanding of the risks and actionable steps you can take to reduce them. So just a brief disclaimer, this presentation is for information only. This presentation contains our own opinions, and this presentation is proprietary. And a few housekeeping items. This session has audio and video feed. If all you can see is the PowerPoint, well then you'll still get the same great information, just not our faces. At the end of the session, give us your feedback and you just might win a $25 Amazon gift card. The slides, recording, and certificate of attendance will be sent to you via email after the session. And finally, please interact with us today. You can use the questions panel in GoToWebinar to submit your questions. There are over 500 people registered, so we'll get to as many questions as we can. So just so you know a little bit about us, I work with Tandem, an information security and compliance application by Connectrix. Tandem is a suite of applications all focused around helping businesses create and manage their information security programs. One area we especially like to focus on is helping financial institutions be exam ready. Whether that's with risk assessments, policies, vendor management, or anything else, we're here to help you. Okay, we're doing something a little different for this webinar that we're just really excited about. If you're a Lego fan like we are, you'll definitely want to pay attention. Throughout the presentation, we'll be launching 8 poll questions to learn more about your organization and how you're approaching deepfakes and AI-related threats. And now here's the fun part. If you answer all 8 poll questions during the webinar, you'll be entered into a drawing to win an awesome retro radio Lego set that Elizabeth has here for us. So make sure you're participating along the way. Not only will your responses help us better understand what's happening across organizations, but you might just walk away with a new Lego set too. That's so exciting, right? Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Okay, all right, we already have 2 poll questions coming up, so let's go ahead and get to those questions. Now, here's our first question. We want to know a little bit more about you. So what type of organization do you currently work for? Your answer choices are credit union, other financial institution, third party, service provider, regulatory agency, or other. If you select other, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat box. All right, so we're seeing a lot here. A lot from other financial institutions. We got some credit union people here. Awesome. Third-party service provider, regulatory agency. All right. Again, if you select other, go ahead and leave a comment. And make sure you're voting to enter to win or a chance to win that Lego set. We have about 74 people or 74% answered. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and end the poll. All right, great. So we have about 52% of other financial institutions. That's great. We have, again, 31% credit union. Welcome. Awesome. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to our next question here. And our next question is, what is your organization's asset size? So we have our answer choices: less than 250 million, between 250 million to 500 million, 500 million to 1 billion, 1 billion to 5 billion, or more than 5 billion. And if you don't have an asset size, not to worry, just type it in the chat and let us know where you're from. All right, so we're seeing some variation. Okay, very cool. We'll leave it open just a few more seconds so we can get everyone a chance to answer. All right. It keeps on going up. Every time I start talking, we get like one more vote in. Okay, I think we're good to close those polls. All right, great. Yeah, it's pretty equal across the asset sizes here. That's great. Awesome. All right, thank you so much for sharing that information. We really appreciate it. Again, it helps us, but then also you get a chance to win that Lego set. All right, let's move on.
All right, so we're going to kind of touch on our agenda for today. So the first thing we're going to look at today is defining what even are deepfakes and kind of what it is. Then we'll take a second to look at the human factor. So why do we as humans fall for deepfakes? Then we'll look at detection essentials. So how do you know if something is a deepfake? And then we'll wrap up with how to build resilience through awareness. So just strengthening that awareness muscle and learning how to spot that. So we do have another poll question. So like we said, there's only 8. So this is the third one. So this one is, has your organization experienced or suspected or confirmed deepfake voice cloning or AI impersonation attempt? So the options are yes, no, I don't know, or prefer not to say. And we'll give that a few seconds.
Yeah, this one's a really interesting one too. I mean, I think this gives us an opportunity to see how many people in the organization have maybe reported these types of events if they have experienced it. We have a few that said prefer not to say, which is totally understandable. A few I don't know, no, and we have several yeses. So again, it may depend on who's like actually reporting these and if they are aware of it, if it's happening. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for submitting those answer choices. This is really helpful for us to understand and kind of get us all on the same page on where we're at when it comes to actually experiencing these types of events. All right, Elizabeth, I'll let you continue.
Perfect. So now that we kind of have a feel for who's on the webinar today and kind of the asset side, let's get on the same page of what even is a deepfake. So a deepfake is a piece of audio, video, or image content that has been altered using artificial intelligence to appear real, even though it's completely fake. So bad actors will use deepfakes to impersonate clients, colleagues, and even your loved ones in an attempt to gain your trust or convince you to take an action. So like I mentioned, deepfakes can be audio such as a phone call, video like your Teams call, or maybe an image off of a social media post. Now, before we get too in the weeds of what deepfakes are, let's first think about, well, how long have deepfakes been around? And the answer is a lot longer than you might think. So we're going to do something kind of fun on our webinar today. We're going to take a short history pop quiz. So if you know who this is, hopefully you do with that US history. If you know who this is, go ahead and react to our webinar, give it a thumbs up so we can see kind of how gauge the feel of that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Everyone
People
like,
could
yeah,
pass.
I know who this is. I know history.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. So yes, so if you thought this was Abraham Lincoln, you're actually wrong. So this is actually John Calhoun. And so in 1865, Alexander Ritchie flipped and stitched Abe's head onto John Calhoun's body because there weren't any heroic style portraits available at that time.
Crazy.
So to answer the question of how long deepfakes have been around, well, since at least 1865. The only thing that has changed is now we have AI. So now that we know what deepfakes are and we know that this isn't Abraham Lincoln, let's talk about how they appear and how they show up. So deepfakes are going to appear in several different ways and they're becoming more prevalent every single day as AI gets better. So the first way that they're going to show up is with believable impersonation. So just like with Abraham Lincoln, we can think a video, image, or audio is someone else entirely. For example, there was a deepfake that went on social media and it was impersonating Elon Musk. One of the followers on the account saw it, believed it, and invested $10,000 in that fake scam. Taking us into the workplace, in 2024, Hong Kong police reported scammers setting up a video conference call to impersonate the CFO and other staff members. In this call, they convinced a financial worker to transfer approximately $25 million of company funds. So as you can see, not only can deepfakes be expensive, but they will use believable impersonation to convince you into doing something you probably wouldn't normally do. They'll also show up by targeting your trust, urgency, and authority. So they are going to target who you trust, how important or urgent something is, and use your authority and power. So like with Elon's example, Elon poses a big influence in status. I mean, he has Tesla, so he's kind of up there. And a lot of people trust his opinion because of the amount of his success. That's why that follower put that $10,000 in that fake scam. In the Hong Kong example, the financial worker actually got a phishing email from the fraudsters first requesting the transaction. Now, the employee correctly identified it as phishing, but the supposedly CFO requested a video call. After seeing who he thought was the CFO, he disregarded any concern he had and moved forward with that wire transfer. So I would just like to ask you, put yourself in his shoes. Think about how scary that would be because you're wanting to impress that CFO. Then lastly, they'll show up in fraud, customer impersonation, and identity creation. So this is perfectly represented in our Hong Kong example, but it goes a lot deeper than that. In the Hong Kong example, they're impersonating that CFO, but fraudsters are taking it a step further and creating identities of people who don't even exist. They can do this by gathering information from the dark web, data breaches, or even public sources like your social media account. Not only do deepfakes appear in several different ways, but there's actually different types of deepfakes. So we're going to head and look at these different types. And the first one's going to be voice cloning. So this tactic is used a lot to impersonate your loved ones or your boss or higher ups. And this is when you receive a voicemail or a call that appears to come from a CEO or a family member urgently requesting information or money. So a good example of this one was in January 2024, an audio clip of a high school principal near Baltimore was circulated online. And in this audio clip, the principal was heard making derogatory and racial comments about students and staff at the school. So as you can imagine, this really outraged the community, and the principal started receiving death threats from people all across the country. After investigation, it turns out that the athletic director had actually created a deep fake of the principal's voice as revenge for getting him investigated for stealing from the school. The athletic director was later arrested, but the damage was already done. The principal's reputation and authority was completely ruined by this fraud. Then we have video manipulation. So in this type of deepfake, fraudsters will hide their true identity behind a fake face on a video call. We see the rise of this in the hiring process for remote jobs. In fact, there was a company that fell into this exact scheme. So in this scheme, four different video interviews were conducted. So not just one, but four for this remote role. And in these interviews, everything seemed legit. And the craziest part is the interviewee passed every single background check.
Wow.
So that's crazy. So the company moved forward with the hiring process. Once that employee had access to a company laptop, they immediately started trying to download malware and penetrate the company. Now, thankfully, the company had correct measures in place and nothing was affected. Then we see synthetic identities. So imagine someone cloning your voice or calling a company to reset your password. If that company relies on voice recognition or just a simple phone verification, that could allow someone else to gain access to your account. We're also seeing deepfake images and altered photos being used to impersonate people online, whether that's to take over your social media account, access your email, or even other personal accounts. A good example of this one was Toronto police reported in late 2022 of a project titled Project Deja Vu, and it uncovered a family that was using synthetic identities to cause fraud. It was estimated that this family had actually created losses up to $3.9 million from one family. So
Oh my gosh.
that's crazy. And then lastly, we have chat-generated impersonations. So a good example of this one was August of 2025. Hackers managed to breach a popular AI chatbot platform called Salesloft Drift. Now, this platform is used by lots of different businesses like Salesforce, Slack, and even Google Workspace. So essentially, you name it. It's the middleman of a lot of automated sales processes. And so what did the attackers do? Well, they stole authentication tokens, or basically these digital keys that let them access all these connected systems as if they were legitimate users. So that meant sensitive data from multiple companies was suddenly at risk, all because one single vendor was compromised. All right, we have another poll question. So which deepfake scenario concerns your organization the most? It could be executive impersonation and fraud request. It could be voice cloning of customers' employees, AI-generated phishing and social engineering, fake video or media reputational attacks, or even that third-party impersonation. So we'll take a look at these results.
Oh, this one's going to be really interesting too, because I think as we're still learning how AI advances and how these video manipulation, social media posts, all those things play into our environment and landscape, it's really hard to determine what is something that we are really fearful of. And I wouldn't be surprised if, oh wow, executive impersonation fraud requests are lower than AI generated phishing. Yeah, social engineering, that makes sense. Voice cloning of customers or employees, big video media reputational attacks. I see that happening more on like sometimes with like Hollywood actors, and also politics. It play video, false video media reputational attacks happens a lot in our political world right now. So yeah, man, these are great answers. Thank you so much for sharing. We had 43% show up for AI generated phishing and social engineering, and that makes all the sense.
Total sense.
Yeah. All right.
So now you're probably wondering, well, how are deepfakes even made? And unfortunately, it's pretty easy. There's software out there as cheap as $5 a month that allows people to create deepfakes. So as long as you have a phone or a computer, you can create one. Now, I did want to show some examples. So on these next few slides, I did pull some clips from a webinar that Perry Carpenter hosted. Now, if you don't know who Perry Carpenter is, I kind of view him as an expert on deepfakes. He's written books, he's done webinars. His whole thing is about educating around this purpose. So the first clip we're going to look at from him is actually an example of how to create an audio deepfake. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that.
Okay, really quick, there was a comment that came in and said, how do we know the video of you two aren't deep fakes? And that is so legit. Like, that is such a great question. We're actually going to show you how you may be able to detect what a deep fake is later on in this presentation. So if you want to find out if we're deep fakes, stay tuned, okay? So let's go ahead and look at this video.
Some explanations about the way that I want them to speak. Use filler words, mild stutters, occasional grammatical mistakes. So anything to make it sound more human. Periodically reference a checklist to justify questions. And also, if somebody has a checklist, it also means that they may be working from a script. So if the bot sounds robotic, like it's reading a little bit, well, that's understandable because we all have a different way of reading than when we're just talking. So again, a lot of those mental explanations I want to automatically be part of the conversation so that the person doesn't raise the question in their own mind. I'll let you hear just a couple seconds of this, and I'm going to ditch out and go over to another system to show you how you could make one very, very fast for your own demos. Allow microphone. And start call.
Sorry, my headset is having issues. And am I coming through on your end?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Oh, great. Thanks for confirming that. I'm glad to hear you can hear me. So this is Brenda Mackey from the Information Technology Operations team here at Hilton. How's your day going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Just a bit busy with some system updates coming up. You know how it is always something to keep us on our toes. I'm calling to get a couple quick data points about your systems before we roll out those critical updates. Oh, and yeah, our phone systems have been glitchy for the last few hours. I'd normally just wait this kind of thing out and not call anyone, but that's not an option today. Do you have like 3 minutes to help me collect some info?
Yeah, I'm sorry your day's been tough today. Yeah, let me help.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's just a few simple questions, I promise. I've been given a randomized selection of properties to call today, and your property and number was assigned to me. So let's get started. First off, I need to make sure we get a... Awesome.
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Again, what's your name again? I forgot.
No problem at all. I'm Brenda Mackey from the Information Technology Operations team at Hilton.
All right, so you could kind of feel the awkwardness there at the end.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that here in just a second. I am curious, you can write it in the comments, but if you notice or recognize that voice, it is someone famous that your brain probably registered, and Savannah's about to talk about that here in our next session.
Yeah, so drop it in the Q&A if you know
yeah,
who
if
it
you know
is.
who it is.
We also had someone ask us to wave your hand in front of your faces to confirm this video isn't fake. This is hilarious. You guys are distracting me from all the great comments. Okay.
All right, so the next clip we're going to look at is actually how to do an actual video deepfake, so how to change your face. So let's take a quick look at that as well.
For 2 windows, you'll see I have a piece of software running called Magicam, and that is the software for doing real-time deepfakes. You see all these different faces that are here. So I could literally just run through, that's Kim Jong-un, from North Korea. It doesn't map onto my face well, which is another part of deepfakes, is you're going to have to figure out what faces map onto your face in a believable way. Part of that is my hair, though he doesn't, he's not known for wearing a backward cap. Eric Krohn is a guy that I work with. This is the face of the North Korean hacker that there was some news about a while back. And then, somebody like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, so you can really make yourself into anyone, and he'll go into more detail. You can find Perry Carpenter on YouTube, and he's very educational. But that is going to be how easily that deepfakes can be created. So now I'm going to let Savannah talk about why do we fall for this as humans?
Yeah. That's perfect. Okay, someone did answer Taylor Swift, and that voice was Taylor Swift. Good job. Too bad you can't win anything from that. But come on, answering the poll questions, and you might get that Lego set. Good job. All right. So in this next section, we will focus on the human factor and how psychology makes deepfakes so effective. So deepfakes don't succeed by hacking systems, they succeed by hacking human perception. These attacks are designed to trigger the way we naturally make decisions, especially when we're busy, distracted, or under pressure. When a deepfake works, it usually creates 4 feelings at the same time. It feels real, it feels familiar, it feels urgent, and it feels overwhelming. When all 4 of these are present, our brains tend to stop analyzing the situation and start reacting, often before logic has time to catch up. In the next few slides, we'll break down each of these feelings and look at why they're so effective in social engineering attacks. Okay, but before we do that, I want to set a little context for you here. I am not a neuroscientist or a psychologist, but there's been a lot of research around how humans process trust, emotion, and decision-making, especially under pressure. I found it interesting how closely this research aligns with the way deepfake attacks actually play out. What we're going to look at next isn't meant to diagnose or label anyone. It's simply a way to understand how deepfakes trigger natural human responses emotionally and cognitively before we even realize it's happening. All right, it's time to put that general psychology class to the test, even if it's been more than 10 years ago. So looking at this image, what part of the brain do you think is highlighted? You can drop it in the chat here. I won't be able to look to see who's answering it correctly, but if you wanted to answer it, you can just think about it. But anyone? Okay, if you thought the prefrontal cortex, you would be correct. Good job. Here we're going to be talking about what feels real and the trust bias. Humans are wired to trust what feels familiar and confident. If it sounds like your boss, looks like your boss, and says this is urgent, your brain is already halfway convinced before you've even had time to think about it. The prefrontal cortex plays a big role in this. It's responsible for decision-making and evaluating whether we trust someone. It's constantly scanning for cues like tone of voice, behavior, and familiarity. It's kind of like your brain's internal "this feels legit" button. Think about it like this. If your phone lights up and you see your best friend's name pop up, you don't question it, you just open the message. Your brain has already decided that this is safe. And that's what this part of your brain is doing all day long. It's scanning for cues, making things easier for you so you're not having to waste that extra energy to really think through all of these processes. It's trying to be helpful, but sometimes it's just a little too helpful. So deepfakes take advantage by giving our brains just enough believable cues to trigger trust automatically. All right, if you want to take another guess at what this part of the brain is, you definitely can. But we're going to just say it here. It is the hippocampus. If you got it right, good job. Pat on the back for you. All right, so we're talking about what feels familiar and that familiarity effect. So one important thing psychologists have discovered is something called the mere exposure effect. The more often we see or hear something, the more likely we're going to believe it, or at least feel comfortable with it. In practice, that means if a deepfake video or audio clip looks mostly right, our brains tend to fill in the gaps and label it as authentic. We naturally trust things that feel familiar, even if something's slightly off. Think about it like this. Have you ever heard a song a few times, a couple of times, and at first you're just like, I don't think I like this song. I hate it, actually. But then all of a sudden, after hearing it over and over again, you're like, wait, why do I actually love this song now? That happens to me way too much, especially with pop music. Okay, but anyway, that's familiarity at work, and it's supposed to work like that. This response is supported by the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and recognition. It helps us identify when something feels known or familiar, even if we can't remember exactly where we've seen it before. It's kind of like when you recognize someone in public, you know them, but you can't figure out if it's from work, the gym, or your dentist's office. That feeling creates comfort, and your brain is basically like, I don't know where I've seen this, but I'm pretty sure it's fine. So deepfakes take advantage of this by copying familiar faces, voices, names, and behaviors. Our brain doesn't always ask, is this true? Sometimes it just asks, have I seen this before? That's why deepfakes don't need to look perfect. They just need to feel familiar enough for our brains to lower their guard. Okay, our next part of the brain highlighted here is the amygdala. We're looking at what feels urgent. So the amygdala acts as the brain's emotional alarm system. When something feels urgent or threatening, this is the part of the brain that activates and prepares us to react quickly. Strong emotions like fear, pressure, or even excitement can temporarily shut down our normal rational thinking. Attackers understand this, and they often design messages to trigger those emotional responses. Have you ever gotten a message that immediately made your stomach drop, and before you even fully processed it, you're already reacting? That's your amygdala kicking in. A message that says, this is urgent, I need your help right now, isn't just stressful. It can trigger a real physical reaction. Our heart rate increases, your focus narrows, your instinct becomes to act immediately. Your brain basically goes, we don't have time to think, we only have time to panic. This reaction is called the amygdala hijack, where emotions take over before logic has time to catch up. Deepfakes can make this even more convincing by adding those emotional cues like facial expressions, tone of voice, or visible stress that make the situation feel real and personal. Oops. Sorry, my slides are all out of whack right now on my end, so I'm going to click on that, and then hopefully that works. All right, it did work. Awesome technology, right? Okay, so that's why urgent deepfake requests are so effective. When emotion is high, logic is low, and verification can start to feel like something we just don't have time for. All right, so now we have two areas of the brain highlighted here. We talked about the prefrontal cortex, and now we're combining it with the parietal cortex to talk about cognitive overload. Now, cognitive overload happens when too much information hits the brain at once. Even the most intelligent and experienced people can only process so much at a time. When someone becomes overwhelmed, the brain has a harder time absorbing new information and making clear decisions. Tasks that would normally feel manageable can suddenly feel confusing or rushed, not because of a lack of knowledge, but because mental capacity has been exceeded. If you've ever had 12 tabs open, 3 conversations going, and forgot what you opened your laptop for, that's cognitive overload. And in today's workplaces, this happens all the time. We're juggling meetings, emails, alerts, and trying to find a snack in between. As cognitive load increases, focus drops, and decision-making becomes harder. And at that point, the brain starts to rely on shortcuts. So instead of analyzing every detail, it looks for familiar cues like a known voice, a recognizable face, or a familiar job title. Deepfakes exploit this exact moment. When cognitive overload is high, reacting feels easier than verifying, and that's when important red flags most likely are missed. So the key takeaway here isn't that people need to try harder or somehow be smarter. The real takeaway is that awareness gives us permission to slow down, verify, and ask questions, even when something feels real, familiar, or urgent. All right, we have another poll question for you if you're ready for it. So our question here is, has your organization included deepfakes or AI-generated impersonation threats and security awareness training? Our answer choices are yes, planning to add it, no, I don't know. No's, planning to add it, perfect. You got a lot of yeses.
Like to see that.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have for sure. It is crazy as AI is still such a new thing for our industry, and it's just getting more and more advanced. And so we have to start building our security awareness programs to change and adapt as these types of things enter our landscape and stuff. So this is really good. All right, just a few more, hopefully, so we can get that Lego set. All right. I think we can end the poll there. Okay, so we have 50% at yes, that's great. Planning to add it, perfect. We have no's and some I don't knows. So hopefully if you don't know, maybe you'll get that security awareness training course sometime this year. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue here. And I'll go ahead and pass it off to Elizabeth to talk about this section.
Perfect. So now that we know what deepfakes are and the tricks that they can play on us, let's answer the question everyone's probably wondering and why you're watching this today. And that's, how do I know if it's a deepfake? And so just like with the types of deepfakes there are also different cues. So we're going to look at several of these cues, but I do want to give a quick disclaimer. Now, AI is advancing every single day. It's getting better and better, which means deepfakes are going to get better. So these cues are not going to essentially say if something's a deepfake, but it will show you if something doesn't sound quite right. But don't worry, we are going to give you some cues that shouldn't change no matter how advanced the technology gets. So the first kind of cues we're going to look at is visual cues. And this is if you see any glitching, fuzziness, or maybe missing objects. So is there weird warping or changes in the person that you're seeing on the video call? Do objects that were there suddenly vanish? So for example, Savannah and I have our wedding rings on. Now, if they disappear halfway through this webinar, we're a deep fake.
We'll just keep our hands up.
The whole webinar. But that is one way that you could tell. And we also have audio cues. So with these audio cues, this is looking at the sync and lip movement. So this is when the audio might be mismatched to the lips as you're speaking. Now the fraudster might even blame poor internet connection and claim they're having an issue. You could have them hang up, call back, but if it persists, have that in the back of your mind as a red flag. You'll also want to look for the mouth movement because keep in mind it is AI covering their face with a fake mask. So for example, if I say like the letter S or P, my mouth is going to move a certain way. So that's what you're going to want to look for. We also have unnatural pauses. So are there random pauses during the call or moments of paused breathing? So kind of view deepfakes as an act. They're putting on an act to try and get you to fall for it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they might not know what to say. And so they might have to pause and think. In that example we looked at earlier, when the bot interrupted it, it had to calculate what it was going to respond with. Then we have our behavioral cues. So the biggest one here is looking at your body language and mannerisms. Is the person you're talking to behaving normally, or do they have weird tweaks that they are doing? Or maybe that person just does weird things and they're not doing it. That could be a sign of a deepfake. You'll also want to look for unusual. So here at Tandem, we use Teams. So all our messages are through Teams. If I were to get a request to do a call, maybe through Zoom, that should be a red flag to me. And the fraudster might even say something like, I know this isn't how we normally do it, but this is what we're going to do today. Today's an exception. I don't care because that's not my process and I only use Teams. But they might try to trick you to use a different source. Now, another big cue that you'll see pop up a lot is urgency. And this cue shows up a lot in any kind of social engineering because it's putting pressure on you. So imagine you receive a call from someone claiming to be an executive and they say something like, I need this done right now in the next 10 minutes. Don't involve finance. I'm going to explain later. Would anyone here suddenly feel like, oh, I need to get that done right away. I have 10 minutes. And that reaction is exactly what the attackers are trying to trigger. Deepfake scams often emphasize urgency to push people into acting quickly and before you have time to pause and verify. So there's actually several different tactics of urgency that we're going to look at today. The first one that we're going to look at is artificial deadline. So this is when somebody says, I need this done in the next 10 minutes. It's putting that time constraint and pressure on you to have it done quickly. We'll also see false scarcity. So this is when the message suggests that an opportunity will disappear if you don't act immediately. So it could be maybe if you don't do this, you might not be considered for that promotion because there's only a few. We'll also see secrecy. So I told you don't involve finance. We now have a special bond, a secret that only we share, and I can use that to manipulate you. So if you find some kind of secrecy in that message, that is a huge flag of social engineering. There also can be a limited interaction window. This is the classic, I'm hopping into a cab, I can't talk. It might more realistically look like, I only have a minute to talk. I want you to do that wire transfer by the time I hang up. So it's, again, another time constraint. Then we have an escalating threat. This one is scary. They're using fear to drive you and get you to do something. Outside of the workplace, there is a deepfake scam going on where they pretend to be your children, and it sounds like your kids, and it's a very scary situation. In the workplace, it might be attacking your livelihood. It might be, if you don't do this, you're not going to have a job tomorrow, which means you're not going to be able to pay the bills and all that.
Yeah.
Then we have emotional pressure. So this is using flattery and saying things like, you're the only one I trust. You're the perfect person. Savannah, you're gorgeous today.
Man, John, you got me.
It's gonna be using that flattery to get you to do something. Then we have technical constraints. So this could be, I need you to log into this because it's going to expire in a few minutes. So again, another time pressure. And then lastly, we have repetition. So this is where the attacker will try to annoy you or bug you to the point where you just cave and give in. So they might say things like, are you almost done? Are you sure you don't need help? Have you finished yet? Are you sure you don't want me to do it? And they're going to nag you until you cave. Now, with that said, deepfakes are all putting on an act, and I kind of said this earlier, but they're all going to be communicating some kind of story to set up a scenario that you might fall for. And here's a few examples that we found as we were doing research that seems to be very top deepfake attacks that are successfully happening. So the first story that is normally told is, I am your boss, and this is urgent. And you can take out boss and fill the word with whatever it might be. But they normally are asking maybe for a wire transfer. So they could say, I need you to wire money right now for a deal. Another one we see popping up a lot is, I need you to go buy gift cards and send me the codes. And this one is actively happening right now. So if somebody asks you to buy a gift card, say, no, thank you. There's Venmo. So then we have, your loved one is in trouble and you need to act now. I kind of already talked about this one. This is where they're using fear to sound like a child or someone that you love and that you need to send them money. Maybe in the workplace. Recently, I traveled for a conference, so they could attack my husband and pretend to be me and say that I was stranded at the conference and I need money to get home. So they are going to exploit that love connection with the people you care about. There's also, I'm from your bank or tech support. So this is kind of speaking to the choir, but it could pretend to be someone from your organization calling your customer and saying, I need you to tell me your account details to get that information. Then lastly, we have government or law enforcement threats. Every time we wrap up tax season, everybody wants to impersonate the IRS, but it's always going to be, you owe us money. Yeah. So what do all these stories have in common? And everything they have in common is that they all use urgency, they're all using authority, and they all want either money or sensitive information. So one of the biggest mistakes we make when talking about deepfakes is only focusing on the technology. We ask, was that fake? Did that voice sound real? But a lot of times we can miss those cues, and the attack is the story. That's because we don't make decisions based on facts. We normally make decisions based on our emotion, familiarity, and meaning. If I tell you your child is in trouble, you're going to react before you analyze or ask for proof. And the reason it's that way is because you're creating emotional truth before that factual proof. Your brain starts filling in the gaps like, of course, my child needs my help. And deepfakes don't need an Oscar-worthy acting. They just need the story to feel believable enough for you to act. And the deepfake is not the attack. It's actually the story it's telling you. And that leads me into my biggest point today, and that is that we're asking the wrong question. We shouldn't be asking, is this a deepfake? What we should be asking is, does this feel normal? When we focus on only asking, is this a deepfake, we're putting pressure on ourselves and our employees to become forensic analysts, and that's just not realistic. Especially as AI is getting better, a lot of the cues and everything you're noticing is going to disappear. It's going to be hard to spot.
Yeah.
So there's better questions to ask. We can ask questions like, well, what story is this telling me or communicating? Is it a story of urgency, secrecy, authority, or fear? What action is being requested? Almost every single deepfake attack is trying to get you to trigger a decision, transfer funds, reset access, maybe bypass that approval, or even reveal sensitive information. You'll also want to ask, is urgency overriding my process? So is this pushing me faster than I normally would react to this? Then you can ask, well, who benefits if I actually comply? What happens if I follow incentive? And then lastly, we have I verified independently? And this is going to be the control that breaks that attack chain, whether it's in your personal life or even at the workplace. So the key takeaway here is that we all need to pause when requests feel urgent and verify before we act.
All right, I think we're going to take a second to look at some of these questions. They've been coming in. Again, these have been just really fun comments. There's people talking about the sink. I promise. We are
We
real
can dance.
Yes. It's. I think it's just the platform. It's GoToWebinar. Sometimes it happens, but thank you for checking. I'm so glad that everyone is like taking this really seriously and being like, wait, are we really watching real people here? Right. Actually, these are all just fun comments.
Yeah,
I love it.
Which is awesome.
Thank you for participating. I love this. All right. We'll go ahead and move on. Don't forget, you can go ahead and submit questions if you have any questions. If you want to share any like stories that you've experienced with any of this, feel free to do that. We'll take time at the end of the presentation to go over some of the questions that we might have missed or that come in. All right. And that takes us to our poll question. Remember, you want that Lego set, so answer these questions, please. Okay, so our next question is, does your organization have verification procedures for high-risk requests like wire transfers, password resets, or sensitive data? We have our answer choices as yes, some procedure exists, no, I don't know.
Oh, I'm already liking the answers.
Yeah, good job, everyone. Which this would, I'm actually not surprised that there would be a lot of yeses for this because they have to. There's dual control. There's all of these types of verification that you have to go through before you do any type of wire transfer and yeah, password reset, sensitive data. So this is what's really good. I think what this points out is how our foundational controls help support like mitigating those risks, even against deepfakes, even against advanced technology. As long as we have these types of standards and foundations, and we're actually really keeping ourselves protected against that, against those threats. All right, just a couple more seconds to get those answered. All right, I think we can go ahead and close that poll. So we have 65% answer yes, some procedures exist at 30%, 1% at no, 4% I don't know. Again, thank you so much for sharing. I think this really shows us, again, just where we're all at and where we're standing and how we can share this information with everyone. So thank you. All right. In our next section, we're going to focus on building awareness and resilience. We'll talk about ways to update your security awareness training for deepfakes, simple verification steps employees can use to pause and verify requests, and how to report suspected deepfake or impersonation attempts. We'll also share some tips you can take home and use outside of work. Deepfakes don't just impact organizations, they can be used against individuals and families too. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, if you're evaluating your organization's security awareness program, here are some practical ways deepfake risks can be incorporated. First, when you're doing security awareness training, you want to use realistic scenarios, not just a definition slide of what deepfakes are. You want to walk employees through what an executive voice impersonation might sound like, or even an urgent internal communication exercise. The goal isn't to create fear, but it's really to create that familiarity so they're able to detect these types of requests. Second, we want to reinforce the process. So deepfake training shouldn't be about spotting glitches like we talked about. It should reinforce verification procedures. So callbacks and out-of-band confirmation are often more effective than trying to determine whether a voice or a video is fake. Deepfakes are designed to fool people. Processes are designed to protect them. So third, we want to talk about that emotional awareness. Again, deepfakes succeed because they trigger urgency and authority. Employees should be trained to recognize that emotional spike as a cue to slow down, not speed up. Your brain is saying go faster, but your training should be saying maybe don't. And finally, include more than just the wire department. IT, HR, executive assistants, and customer-facing teams are all potential targets. Attackers don't care about your organization chart. Deepfake risk crosses all departments. Okay, so now we're going to talk about verification and verifying if there was a deepfake attempt at the organization. So the first step you want to take when it comes to verifying is just pause and then verify. If a request creates urgency, pressure, or authority escalation, that's not a reason to move faster. It's a reason to slow down. So deepfake attacks depend on reaction, and verification depends on intention. Urgency is often used to push quick decisions. Second, we want to use trusted channels. If a request comes through email, you want to verify that through a known number, something that you have access to. If it comes through voicemail, confirm requests through previously established contact methods. And this next one kind of is related to the trusted channels, but when you're doing a callback, trying to verify if this person is real or if the request is real, you want to use known information that you already have. Don't use the phone number in the email that sent the request. Don't hit that reply button. Don't click on any links that are provided. Never rely on the communication channel that delivered that request. And verification should always be a priority. There should be no exceptions, whether the request comes from an executive, a vendor, or is labeled confidential, urgent, or time sensitive. So again, deepfakes are designed to create pressure. Your process should be designed to slow things down just enough to verify before you act. Okay, so even with awareness and verification in place, reporting becomes crucial. If you suspect a deepfake attempt, even if no funds were moved, alert your designated teams immediately. That can be your information security team, fraud team, or internal reporting channel. You also want to provide evidence. So save those voicemails, take screenshots, capture timestamps. The more information that you can give to your security or fraud team, the better they can investigate. And then, of course, please do not forward anything because this just amplifies the message. Don't forward it to anyone like your coworkers. Make sure you're forwarding or sending out that evidence to the internal reporting channel because forwarding can accidentally spread malicious content internally. Again, reporting is not about getting someone in trouble. It's about protecting the institution and strengthening our response.
All right, so that was kind of looking at it from the workplace perspective, and we're both very passionate about it, but I really wanted to share your personal life. We all have elderly people at home, we have young kids at home. There's all people from all walks of life. So we really wanted to share these steps to take in your personal life for verification. So the first one is just verify through a second channel. So kind of the same that you would do at work. Call a known phone number or message through a platform you've already used before. You also can use a challenge question like asking, what did we talk about yesterday? Or where did we last meet? Or say our inside joke. You'll also want to slow down the interaction. So deepfakes are all about pushing you to react quickly. So if you slow it down, it's going to bug that person that's trying to exploit you, and they're going to probably get annoyed and leave. You'll also want to look at the environment and behavior. So does the background make sense? Does the scenario match the reality? And is this how you normally communicate with them? Mm-hmm. Next, check the source. Make sure the account numbers or the emails are legit and look normal. Then you want to look for conversational cracks. So I keep saying it's all an act. It's all them trying to put on a scam to get you to fall for it. So they're not going to be perfect. They might have delayed responses. They might repeat the same thing over and over, or they might just feel awkward like that call we heard earlier. So see if there's conversational cracks. You also can try interrupting them and see how they handle that as well. Mm-hmm. Next, use a pre-agreed verification. So have a safe word or phrase or code, whatever it might be. I always think of Harry Potter about this when they take Harry. We're not going to talk about Harry Potter today, but you just need to have a safe word. Watch it if you haven't seen it. And then lastly, we have treat it as unverified. So it's as simple as that. Say, I'm not acting until I confirm this, no matter how awkward or embarrassing it might be. Now, if something did happen, let's say you did accidentally click on a link or send money or anything like that, these are steps that you can also take. So the first thing you're going to want to do is stop the interaction. Hang up the phone. If it's a phone call, if it's email, whatever it might be, stop the interaction. Secure your device. Disconnect from the internet and Wi-Fi. This will stop any kind of malware from downloading. You can then run antivirus, back up important files onto an external drive. That's important. And then clear your history out. Next, change your password. That's really important changes so they can't hack it or get into it. And also turn on MFA multi-factor authentication. Make sure that's on and then log out of any active sessions. Then you're going to want to safeguard your finances because a lot of these attacks are trying to get your money. So preaching to the choir, but they're going to notify you or your bank. Keep records of your communication. Make sure to monitor those financial accounts. And then you also can place a fraud or credit alert with the 3 major bureaus, so like Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. Then you'll want to lock your social security number. So this is kind of intense, but there's 2 different ways to do this. There's E-Verify Self-Lock. This is going to prevent anyone from using your social security number for work history. And then there's also Block Electronic Access. This will hide it from anyone, even yourself. And the only way to get it undone is to actually physically go to the Social Security office. So that's a big one. And then lastly, just report the incident. So you can notify your police. So you could do reportfraud.ftc.gov for scams, and then identitytheft.gov if you have any stolen personal information. So those people are there to help you.
You can also report this to the FBI for the IC3 report anytime, even if it's personal, like an attempt for in your personal life and stuff. You can report that because it really helps the FBI monitor and see like what areas are being attacked most, or kind of looking for those trends. So anytime that happens with you or a family member or at work, reporting it to the IC3 is a really good idea.
Absolutely. And another poll question. So how confident are you that your organization's employees could identify an AI-generated scam or impersonation attempt? So you could say very confident, somewhat confident, not very confident, or you're unsure.
Yeah, we have that makes sense. Somewhat confident. You know, sometimes some people can really, again, AI has just gotten so good. Sometimes even just like the AI generated photos can get me. It just depends. Oh man, but yeah. All right, I think we can go ahead and close that poll. All right, we had 8% at very confident. Kudos to you guys. Somewhat confident at 66%, not very confident at 22%, and unsure at 4%. All right, thank you so much again for sharing and answering these poll questions for us. All right, so what kind of environment actually makes awareness, verification, and reporting work? If employees feel rushed, intimidated, or worried that questioning leadership might be risky, or if they feel embarrassed about reporting something suspicious, then none of these strategies we talked about will matter, and it's the same with your families. A strong security culture supports employees who take the time to follow the process and slow down. Controls don't usually fail because policies are missing. They fail because culture overrides them. If employees feel that verifying an executive request is disrespectful, they won't verify. If they feel that reporting something suspicious might make them look foolish, they won't report it. And so a strong security culture makes verification normal. It makes pausing acceptable. It encourages escalation when something doesn't feel right. And it reinforces that procedures apply equally, whether the request appears to come from a teller, a vendor, or the CEO. Deepfake resilience isn't just a technical control, it's a cultural one. All right, so the key takeaway here in this section is deepfake resilience is built on awareness, verification, reporting, and a culture that supports them. All right, so we have just one last poll question for you today, and then we'll get to those questions that you submitted, but make sure you answer this one so you can get that a chance to win a Lego set. All right, so has your organization conducted a tabletop exercise involving deepfake scenarios? And our answer choices are yes, within the last year, yes, but not recently, planning to, or no. We have some within the last year, yes, but not recently, planning to, some no's. All right, and I think we have a way to actually help you out with that here in a second. We're going to demo one of our products to show a tabletop exercise, so stay tuned. All right, I think we can end that poll now. All right, so we have 17% at within the last year, 6% yes, but not recently, 28% planning to, and 49% at no. So if you're interested in looking at what a deepfake scenario tabletop exercise looks like, stay a little bit longer. We got something for you. All right, so let me take just a minute to look at some of these questions. Right after the questions, I want to show a demo of how we have some of the deepfake content within our Tandem product. And then right after that, we have some free resources to give you guys. So just give me 1 second to look over these questions. Do you guys have any additional educational materials or resources that you can provide recommended that credit unions and you can use to create refined deepfake precautions and procedures? Yeah, we actually do have some resources. That's a great question. If you go to our Tandem website, we do have a lot of educational resources out there. And we also have an AI workbook resource that I'm actually about to share with everyone here in just a moment. But it does go over deepfakes, but it covers more than just deepfakes. It talks about AI related threats, other things that you may be seeing, and also how to create an AI policy, how to work through an AI risk assessment, doing a AI vendor review. So we do have a lot of educational resources. And I think we just sent that person the link, but we're about to drop a link about the AI workbook, and we'll talk more about that here in a second. Thank you for that question. It's funny hearing about the verification in personal life, especially the challenge questions. It reminds me of a video regarding how to sort through stranger danger using a family secret password.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
I
good.
love that.
Yes, and it's so relatable because I think that's one of especially with personal like family situations, it is a really, really good idea to go ahead and set that secret password with your family members, because it is becoming more prevalent of fake kidnappings. Yes. And that is a really scary situation. So, and then even if it's not that intense, there can be someone asking for account information, acting like your spouse or your children or whatever. And so it's really, really good to have that safe word to verify identity.
And too, with that one, I would say even have multiple. And I would say your passwords not around a phone, because they're listening.
Yeah,
so,
that's so true.
Yes.
Good job. Oh, man. Okay, so a useful question to ask yourself is, how do I protect my own family, specifically when it comes to elderly family members? From a business point of view, elderly abuse is rampant and education is our best weapon. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. It's so true. The more conversations that we can have about topics like these, the more aware people are going to become. Again, this is something that Elizabeth and I have been very passionate about, and not just talking about this in our industry, but really bringing it back to our families and trying to help and support them. Because again, if something were to happen to you or happen to that family member and they don't feel confident in talking about it because it's embarrassing, it's better to get this all out on the table now so that we all know the expectations and how to respond to these types of incidents. Great comment. Okay, that's all we have time for the questions right now. If we missed your question, don't worry, we'll reach out to you after this. And I'm so sorry, I know we're about to go over time, but if you just stick with me for 5 minutes, if you can, I am going to demo our incident management product to go over that tabletop exercise. And again, we have some free resources after that. I won't take up too much of your time, I promise. But, I'm actually going to sign in here. 1 second, let me move this over. Sometimes we try to refresh this before the session starts, and then like today I go over my session a little bit.
Good.
And
I spelled my password correct.
I wasn't watching, I promise. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the incident management product. Again, our Tandem software has a lot of AI related content. We do have an AI policy template, an AI risk assessment template, a vendor review template, security awareness training. We talked about that a lot. So if you're interested in adding more security awareness training around AI and deepfakes, we have those courses available if you subscribe to policies and phishing. Okay, let's talk about incident management so I can show you how to create a tabletop exercise using one of our deepfake scenarios. So in our incident management product, if you head over to the incident response plan where you develop your entire playbook for all your incidents, we'll head on down to the scenarios page. So this page is actually connected to the exercise and tests page because Tandem created tabletop exercises and tests to help you get started when you're developing and creating a test for your organization. So I'm going to jump on down to our one of our 3 templates that we provided for you guys for deepfake specifically. We have applicant for remote role, executive impersonation, and password request. Now, if I'm going to create a tabletop exercise from this scenario, I want to click that copy button because that's going to generate the content within that so I can use it for a tabletop exercise. Heading down, we can look at our description here. So we already have a description kind of giving you, again, that scenario to get you started to start having that conversation during your tabletop exercise. And then we also provide discussion questions as you're going through it, making sure that you're verifying and looking at different aspects of how you would respond to this incident. And down below, if you're wanting to throw in some plot twists, you can look at those scenario modifiers and add those additional questions to kind of get those conversations going. Then you'll want to schedule out your exercise or your tabletop exercise, and I'll schedule that here just so we can see where it's going to be saved. You can also add a responsibility here so you can invite people to this tabletop exercise and they are aware that they need to attend. And we have our results and analysis. So whenever you're done with your tabletop exercise, you can come here and add that information. So I'm going to save and close this exercise or the scenario, and it takes us right into the exercise and tests page here. And now we can see that our tabletop exercise has been scheduled to use that deepfake scenario. So hopefully this makes it easier for you guys to go through those tabletop exercises to make sure that you're doing that for your incident management or your incident response plan, and using some new templates to use for your employees and for your tabletop exercises. All right, let's move on. Hopefully you're still with me. This is our session recap. You know everything that we went over today, so I'm going to go into the outro so we can get you some free resources. All right, so we know managing AI can feel like a lot, and to help you with this, Tandem is excited to announce the newest version of our AI risk management workbook. We did have a version 1, but then as things change, we had to update it. We already have it updated. We have a version 2, and it's really great, jam-packed with information about risk assessments, policies, use cases, AI governance, all of these things that you're probably doing a lot of research on. We want to provide this resource for you to help you get started with that AI governance for your organization. I have a coworker there that's going to drop that in the chat so you can have access to this workbook. I hope you enjoy it. We love it so much. Okay. And make sure to fill out the survey at the end of once we close out the webinar so you can have a chance to win a $25 gift card. We're just giving out a lot of things. I hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I hope this was beneficial for you. Again, this is something that Elizabeth and I have worked really hard on, and we loved it so much. We love being able to share this information with you. Elizabeth, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thank y'all for doing those polls. And I'll give you one final look at the Legos. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.